This is going to be a serious adulting 101 video, so let's get into it. So my girls and I have been just having conversations about really serious stuff. As you kind of, whether it be you're in your 20s or your 30s, these are things that naturally we should be talking about, and it's something that just gets left off because sometimes we kind of feel invincible. Again, because it's a topic of conversation within my friendship circles, I just thought, you guys are my friends. I should share these tips with you and share the conversations that we're having and things that we are doing in our adult years to almost safe-proof ourselves, and things that people would forget about typically that are so super important. So more the legal stuff and protecting your assets. A lot of you might think, in actual fact, I haven't incurred or acquired as many assets. I do think a lot of women think like this, but your assets range from so many things. So ranging from your pension contributions, and a lot of you would have been accumulating that since the time you were working. So that be, your workplace pension or your state pension. It could just be like your cash, like cash assets, your bank accounts, your savings, things that you own are generally considered asset, which leads me to my first topic of conversation, which is wills. And it's something that you shouldn't leave off till a later stage in your life. Like what a will is, it's like a legal document that contains how you wish to distribute your assets and who you want to distribute those assets to. It doesn't also apply to assets. If you have children, you could state in your will who you want to look after those children. Otherwise, if it's not explicit, then you run the risk of the courts deciding how they want to do that for you. Whereas you could just reduce the burden of stress on your loved ones before that. You could go to lawyers to help you draft a will. There are sort of on-the-go services such as co-op legal services that will allow you to draft a will, and you can edit and update these wills as your circumstances change, putting your life into your own hands after you've passed. It's something like really sad to talk about, but it's a reality and it's a truth and it's very real, and it's very real at every stage of your life. So it's something worth considering. I think another thing that people also don't consider, particularly when it comes to wills or assets, is their inheritance. Like if their parents are still alive, you will at some point, there will be some inheritance that you would acquire at some point. And so you would acquire assets even if you don't have any to your name now. Inheritance and things like that, or even from siblings or whatever, you're going to acquire some assets, whether it be cash or property, like tangible, non-tangible, things like that. So another thing that I want to touch on is life insurance. And this is something that I did quite late in my life, just because I thought it was more applicable to only when I owned my property. So when it was the only time I got life insurance, and my life insurance is from Legal in General. I got it based on the fact that I owned a house, but when I started reading the contents of, what it is that they offered, then it contained way much more. And I thought, actually, I have a lot of loved ones and I have a lot of family. In the event that anything does happen to me, that I don't want to put that burden or financial burden on them. That means the debt of my property, that they then carry that burden. But actually setting out what the life insurance is going to cover, and me doing it very earlier on in my life so that at least I start to build that premium. So again, life insurance is another thing where you can say, actually pay out based on how much I'm contributing to my insurance monthly. This is what this is the payout that my loved ones are going to get. It can cover like the remainder to if there's outstanding debt on your property, or if you still have a mortgage to pay, it can cover those payments. It can cover things like maybe your children's school fees, just really good stuff that, again, maybe you wouldn't have thought had you not taken out a life insurance. So yeah, it serves that purpose. So it's something worth looking into. This one is quite controversial, and I was speaking to my friend about it, and my friend's a lawyer, and it's such a hot topic. it's a hot topic, but it's such a sensitive one, and that's prenuptial and postnuptial agreements. And that's when you and your partner decide, you know, how you're going to distribute assets in the event that you guys or your marriage no longer works, okay? Or you decide that you want a divorce. Now, the thing about life is 50-50. So you don't know what might happen in the future. Similar to the reason why we take insurance, we don't know what might happen in the future. But I can see how it can be a difficult conversation to have with your partner, particularly if you're the higher earner or they are the higher earners. And lawyers often recommend them because during a divorce process, emotions are so heightened and people don't necessarily, and I suppose it depends on the divorce proceedings, right? Like if you broke up because of mistrust or because of a negative reason, then it's difficult for both parties to sit down and comprehend fairly what assets belongs to the other. So having a prenuptial or a postnuptial agreement when both of you are actually in the most loving state of your relationship and the most positive states of your relationship, you guys just sit down and decide actually what is fair and what is just between the both of you. Again, circumstances change in that there are a lot of things that you as a couple will share together. And so there can be like, you can ring fence what is yours and what you came in before the relationship started, what you owned, and ring fence that away from, you know, the assets that both of you jointly owned. Again, it's one of those discussions that I feel you need to almost gauge the temperature between like you and your partner before presenting that discussion and framing it in a way whereby it's fair. And I suppose from a woman's perspective, particularly like a lot of women, when they have kids, a large proportion of their lives, they do stop working. So they kind of have to rely on the man. And so it's knowing how both of you would sit down and discuss how you wish to, what's considered fair and how you wish to allocate your assets should anything unexpected happen. So yeah, so a prenuptial agreement is an agreement that both of you decide before you're married, and a postnup is after you're married. And again, it also reduces costs as well. So during legal proceedings, divorce proceedings can take such a long time in terms of the legal process, and their probate fees that come with all of that. So the fees of the lawyers having to do all of this work, and they take so much out of the assets that you're already trying to share anyway. So to reduce all of that, then to reduce the legal fees, then it's best that you already have something in place so that it's not a game of tug of war in deciding who should take what and what's mine and what's yours. Yeah. So, and then the last thing that I would say is also useful is having a form of like estate planning in place. Again, as you get older, this will become increasingly important as you accrue a lot of your assets, as you gain more experience in your workplace, and as you just gather assets like owning businesses, side hustles. Estate planning is something worth looking into, because that also includes like your will, tax planning, whether you want to ring fence your assets or put your assets in trust so that it gets the most efficient tax outcomes, because trusts are taxed very differently compared to assets that are not left in a trust. And it also includes, again, like I said, legal probate fees as well. So if you have all of that in place, it saves time and it saves money, and you get the most out of your assets. Okay. But yeah, all of these things that I have spoken about, like I said, so wills, there are popular will writing services, co-op legal services. I think they charge about £150 for you to have a will in place. I believe some banks offer it as well. And in terms of life insurance policies, there are loads out there, Aviva, Legal in General, and a lot of solicitors offer will writing services. You just need to gauge the rates. Solicitors offer estate planning as well, and so it's just worth having those things in place so that you can just forget about it. Should your circumstances change, then you can go back and tweak as and when necessary. Yeah, I hope you found this video useful. I'm sure it's something that you will find useful, because I found it useful having these conversations in my friendship group. And if, again, in terms of if you're starting to like invest in markets as you become more financially savvy, these are things that you already want to have in place. I tell you, just do it once and forget about it. Honestly speaking, I think you would benefit from having it as opposed to not. So anyway, I'll catch you guys in my next video, and take care.